Good morning. We have a great show today on Real Estate Divas. We are going to be talking about how to dispute your property taxes. So stick around, and Jer'Leigh and myself, Kristin Gerst, will be right back.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Kip Tracy. Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire. Not yet. I messed up the intro. There you go.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I am Kristin Gerst, and this is Jer'Leigh Thompson.
Hi there.
We are talking today about how to dispute your property taxes. And this is a big, important topic, and you've gotten just tons of calls and questions.
I really have. Well, only because I thought last year was a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of text messages about property taxes because we started seeing them go up and the market's been so good, and if the market's good, hey, guess what? We're not the only ones that want to benefit from that. So I thought last year I was swamped with calls and emails, but this year it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Like crazy. So,
and homeowners themselves don't even know that you really need to go do this. Especially, I see it most like when you own or finance a property and you've got, you're the lender on the note. And it's shocking to me how many times they don't even go file their homestead exemption.
yes.
And the
exactly.
simple homestead exemption will drop your property taxes. Your property tax bill.
20, 25%, homestead's very important. So if you haven't done it, your realtor or your title company or your lender should have told you that whenever you closed. And homestead, we'll talk whenever we're talking different exemptions. But right off the bat, just the misconception of that's out there. And I've found this misconception across the board when I'm talking to people about what their hang up is, why they don't go and dispute their property taxes. And I've also seen it whenever I'm looking up, like, experts, give me your opinion on property taxes, and they're spouting it out there. So it's perpetuated over and over again that if you dispute your property taxes, that somehow that affects your market value. And that's crazy.
It is crazy because, they're not the end-all, be-all on what your property's worth.
They're two separate things. Like, these are two different beasts. You've got market value and then you've got tax appraised value. And those two are not the same. They are not associated with each other. Other than tax appraised value does go up and down depending on your market value. And that's about the only way that they are connected. And so there's just a lot of misconception out there about disputing property taxes. And the biggest rule of thumb, as far as what I tell people, is if you are consistently disputing your property taxes and trying to keep them low, then you should always be somewhere around 10% or more less than market value in your tax appraised value.
10%.
10%.
So that's the number
That's kind of a rule of thumb. If you're somewhere in that range, then that means that the tax appraised value is kind of their baseline is lower, so that when the ebb and flow of real estate, the highs and lows that we all have seen and gone through, they don't have to adjust every single year because they're already slightly lower than what your market value is.
Right. So, and everybody everybody's interested in real estate, and especially investment real estate, knows that just because somebody, a house is worth in its top value, maybe this dollar amount, it is possible to show value way down here. And that's kind of the trick with all of this.
Yes, exactly. when you're disputing to show them that my property isn't worth all that. It's, you are comping it out with the highest and best in the neighborhood. It is more difficult when we're in a very hot market, and everybody's been getting top dollar for their house. Your property taxes are going to go up. I'm not trying to feed a misconception that somehow you can get it back to 3 years ago.
Right.
But keep it, just consistently fight it. That's the one thing that you can do. If you don't fight it for 10 years, yours has consistently gone up with the market. And then you're never going to be able to regain, to capture any of that you didn't fight before, So
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I'm like, just dispute it every year. It's not that hard.
So you dispute your homeowner's taxes
Yeah, every
Every
year.
year.
Yeah,
Every
every year
year.
that they try to raise them, I dispute them.
You dispute them.
And I usually, the success rate of disputing your property taxes is pretty high. You know, I mean, if you're disputing on a regular basis, you may not get a huge deduction, you know, or a huge reduction, I guess I should say, in your property taxes, but you're going to get something. I mean, just it's almost like they give it to you just for putting forth the effort,
Right.
You know, and they're like, okay, here you go.
Okay, so how easy is it?
Okay.
Starting out.
Well, let's
what's
just
the first,
talk about.
what's the first step?
Oh.
So, like, you want to do it. What do you do?
Well, before we jump into that, I just want to say homestead, like we were saying, the homestead taxes definitely apply. The one thing that you have to remember with homestead, and this is for investors or homeowners alike, is in order to file, like in 2018, if I wanted to file my homestead, I had to have purchased that property prior to or by January 1st of 2018.
Okay.
If I'm not in that property by January 2nd, then you can't file this year. You can't file for your homestead. That'll be next year. So you need to remember that. And then there's other exemptions if you're disabled, if you're a veteran, and if you're a senior. So look into what those are and always apply for those exemptions as well. But as far as the steps to dispute, first you want to just tell them, hey, I'm disputing this.
And you know, and I did it in
Yeah.
preparation for this. I clicked on a button.
Yeah.
I literally went to DCAD. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I went to Dallas County Appraisal District website, and I clicked on the button,
Exactly.
and it was that easy.
And now, because if the appraisal district has a website, an internet website, they are required to allow you to do online disputes. That's a requirement now. So it can be super easy. I already have several clients that have gone on and they've disputed it and they've gotten approval for the disputed amount.
Right.
So anyway, that's the first thing you want to do is just tell them that you're disputing. Now, just to walk you through what that process looks like you said, you went on there and you just click a button. Well, if you go in there and like I did my due diligence and I went ahead and did mine last night so I could remember all of the steps, you know, step by step and share those with y'all. Because obviously I have access to comps.
Yeah.
So we pull comps, and if you're a Propelio client,
Then you can pull comps. That's how I pull comps.
yeah, exactly. So you pull your comps, you go ahead and do your homework. You're going to look at the pictures, apples to apples, you know, if the house hasn't been updated, which I've got 2 teenagers. I haven't remodeled crap. So I don't have all the upgrades.
I have one disgusting bathroom left. So I'm like, I just photographed that. I'm
Exactly,
like,
from all angles.
that should absolutely take me down like 50 grand.
Yeah, all angles. But, you know, these are things that you want to look at whenever you're looking at apples to apples. You're comparing same square footage, hopefully in the same subdivision, and only in the last 3 months. These are all, you know, the things that you want to do for pulling comps or for your realtor pulling comps.
But I mean, but we are trying to. I mean, this is no different than, you know, somebody going out and trying to get a short sale approved, and you're trying to make it the ugliest appraisal, ugliest comps
Yes.
you can
Yeah.
possibly find. So yeah, it's great, especially if you might have had a foreclosure or something in your neighborhood and going, hey, this is where we're headed, and this is, you know,
Yeah.
they couldn't sell their house, and this is what this is what it's worth.
But also know, you know, the tax appraisal district has access to the MLS as well. They do their research. The thing that you have an advantage on is you know what your house looks like. If your house hasn't been put up for sale, then
They have no idea.
you know what your house looks
Right.
like. And so you can compare to the other properties in your neighborhood to see, does mine fall in that category, or is it slightly less remodeled or in worse shape, or I know that I need foundation work, or I know that my retaining wall needs work, or my fence just blew down with the high winds.
Right.
You know,
Have you ever heard of them requesting a walkthrough of a property?
no,
I haven't either.
no.
And
I mean-
I used to. I mean, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't. This is the first time I've disputed property taxes in like 10 years. And back then, I used to go in to the office with all of my files, and I usually got them approved, I think because they just didn't want to bother with it.
Well, and as an investor, this is one thing you should know is you can, even when you're going online and you're disputing these, so that you can consolidate your time, because your time's valuable.
Right.
And you have 20 properties, you can dispute up to 20 properties at a time. So you can schedule those all if you have to actually go in person.
Which sometimes they require.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So if you have to go in person, you can schedule those all in one day. You can't schedule more than 20, just FYI.
Well, and they're going to be very busy now with this last month because the deadline is
May
upon
15th.
us.
Well, and once you do your dispute, so that's the other thing. Once you go in there and you hit your dispute, if they don't accept it, and you have to go in, if they don't accept it online, is all I'm saying, and you have to go in and appeal, then they are doing the appeals process all the way into July.
Oh, good.
So they'll let you know what that date is, and if you have a conflict, then you can try to reschedule it, that sort of thing.
And that's a really great golden nugget when we're talking about this because just because you click that button and it didn't approve your, your
my suggested value.
You're right, exactly. So now you've got to go
opinion,
in. Now go in person.
Yeah.
And I have never been turned down going in person.
It's one, like I said, you may not get what you came in for as far as the reduction, but typically for just the effort, you're going to get something. I mean, like I said, the success rate is really high.
And the question is, what can you show?
Yeah.
What can you prove? Yes, they've got their numbers, but okay, this is what I've got. I've got 5 comps here, and they're basically in my neighborhood or just outside, and absolutely, And it shows that I can't sell my house for what you're saying I'm being taxed for.
Exactly. And so the one thing about the comps, for those of you who aren't really familiar with pulling your own comps, or if you're dealing with an agent, I mean, most agents are going to know that you're trying to make your property look less than.
Of course.
You don't want the highest and best. You're not putting it on the market to sell. You want it to look less. So we're doing opposite of what we usually do, And so you're finding houses that look better than yours, or you're finding that house that was sold to a wholesaler and that was sold under market value, and you're like, my house looks like that, So you're really wanting to devalue your house and make it look as bad as possible, kind of like whenever you're getting an inspection.
Exactly.
You're negotiating the deal. He is trying to point out everything that's wrong with this house.
Right. When you're going in to buy the deal,
exactly.
Look at this. There's cracks here, and this foundation's a little out of whack.
Exactly. So the first thing is comps. So if you don't have access to comps, then find somebody who does. And even if you're a Propelio client and you can pull your own comps, if you're not familiar with that process, talk to somebody because
I found Propelio to be spot on.
Yeah.
In fact, too spot on sometimes because finding those low comps.
Yeah, finding the low comp, and that's where we're at because it's a good market.
It's right. And so, but when you're on Propelio, I'm like, God, I want this value to be lower, for whatever reason I'm doing it. And I'm like, why can't I get this any lower than what it is? So,
and that's really when knowing your property and what's wrong with it is most important because they haven't been to your house. Again, they just
and they're not coming, but they're not coming.
Yeah, they don't know that your garage door doesn't work. They don't know that things are shifting. They don't know that you bought the house and haven't put a new appliance in it since the day it was built. They don't know any of this. So this is what you're trying to show them. So
another big fear out there for a lot of people, and I've heard this, and I had the fear myself before I started. If you go in and they don't accept your argument, will they raise it higher than what they had assessed it before?
If they don't, there's another process. So let me just walk you through what if you're going on the online process, just real quick. So if you're going on the online process, because I did it last night, and they did not accept my opinion of my value, which I wasn't exactly surprised. I figured since I have all this data at my fingertips, then I'm like, it's my job, I'll show up. But so I did maybe go a little lower than what I would do or what I would suggest for somebody else. So they don't accept my my opinion of value.
What percentage did you try to take off?
Well, I mean, basically, I didn't really calculate percentage-wise. I was just calculating what all isn't rehabbed in the houses that recently sold, and I know what those costs are, and so I deducted it from what they were saying my property value was. So I ended up taking about $35,000. It's still more than last year, right?
Right.
So, but $35,000 off of what they're suggesting my property is worth is how low I went. I feel like if I had gone closer to 20, they probably would have accepted it online.
So, and that's where I was looking at.
Yeah.
I was shooting in that 18 to 20%
Yeah.
off of what I know. I'm going by percentage, but there's different values out there.
So I just, I knew I was shooting
I gave a
low.
little.
Yeah,
they raised it up they raised it up
ton.
a ton.
Yeah, a ton. So, I mean, it's up to you if you don't want to dispute it in person, then maybe be a little more conservative when you're online and you're trying to dispute it online. But if you're like, let's see this, let's do this,
let's see how much I can get.
Yeah. So, like I said, I didn't try to retain what they appraised it at last year, but I didn't want to go up that much. So anyway, I was denied, and then they were like, "Are you sure you want to put this offer in?" They may. So there is a little bit of that.
So it's a fear factor.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that.
Because if you do this, we could come back with a different number. Maybe it's higher. Have you ever heard of that happening?
I've never heard of that happening.
I've never heard of that happening either.
Now, granted, this is not, to be clear, we're not experts in this field.
No.
I mean, but there are people, there's attorneys out there, there's companies out there that do this type of thing specifically all day, every day. And so they would have more knowledge on that than I do. I don't do enough of them to have ever seen that.
I honestly, it doesn't seem, because I've been doing it, I've done it so many times before. It does take time, especially if you have to go in the office. But if you are maybe a disagreeable person, and maybe you know that, maybe you just know that you might rub somebody the wrong way, hiring one of these guys is not a bad idea. So, if you're going to go in there
or
and
if you're
smile,
super busy.
Yeah, if you're super busy. I know, here in Dallas, Dave Abrant has been doing it for years. And he knows everybody down there personally.
Well, and that's the other thing, is if you hire somebody, make sure that they're very familiar with their tax appraisal district board, that they're down there on a regular basis. You're not hiring somebody, you're in Collin County and you're hiring an attorney downtown Dallas. Hire somebody local, because
whoever is in that county. I've heard a rumor that they all have some poker game. Once a month, and so
wow, isn't
or
that interesting?
so and so plays golf with somebody else, and and so you want to find those guys, because they just go in and go, this is what it should be, and he goes stamp, stamp, stamp.
Yep. Yeah, it can still be that kind of good old boy. We know there's still.
It's here. Everybody knows it's here. Why deny it? Yeah. Just take advantage of it.
Yeah. So there are obviously, as we just said, there's obviously companies out there that you can hire to do this. But if you're doing it yourself and you decide to be more aggressive, or maybe you're being conservative and you're still denied, they're going to ask you that question: Are you sure you want to put this through? And you hit yes, and you are sure. And then they're going to come back and they're going to say, well, our counter, because they give you an immediate counter, and so their counter. They come back, they countered me with exactly what they put on
on your little sheet.
On this.
But it wasn't more.
It wasn't more, but are you kidding me? That's not a counter.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I don't want that, because that's what I'm disputing. And so I hit, no, I do not accept the counter. Are you sure you don't accept this counter? Yes, I'm sure. And then you go to the next page, and the next page is basically saying you're stating what you think your value is. Again, it's your opinion of value. And then they have a box where you can upload all of your documents. The more documents you have, the better. Since I was doing it last night, I I hate to say it, I wasn't super prepared. I just wanted to make sure that I remembered all the steps correctly so I could come and tell you guys. So I did upload my comps, sheet. I did make a list of all the things that were in the subject properties that I put in the comps sheet. A list of all the things that those houses had that my house did not, and then made sure that they knew that if I have to come and appeal in person, I will be providing estimates for all of those things and the issues that I also have at my house.
Did they allow you to upload photos?
They do allow you to upload photos
and
as
I would
well.
say that
Yeah,
would be
exactly.
one of the most important things, especially if you've got anything that's, delinquent on your exterior, because they can tell that that's the exterior of your house.
Exactly.
So they know that you're in there.
Exactly.
And going, okay, this is what this looks like, and my driveway is torn up, or whatever you have that's super ugly.
You have a major crack and can barely pull into your driveway. Okay, that's substantial. That's going to cost you quite a bit. And all of these things affect your market value, which is what you're trying to prove, is that my market value is not what you're trying to assess it at. Therefore, my tax appraised value is not what you're trying to assess it at.
And also remember that, people are like, oh, well, it's not that expensive for me to get that done. Okay, well, that's you, and you're in real estate, and that's a professional thing. But for the average homeowner,
person,
and for all of these guys sitting on the appraisal board, it's expensive to repair this stuff, because they're a one-time and done.
Yeah.
So it's not like they've got their contractors working for them on a repeat basis.
Or they're not a contractor themselves,
Correct.
I mean, I can get my roof done in a heartbeat, but it's going to cost everybody else a lot more than it'll cost me to put my roof on.
Absolutely.
So, you need a new roof. The one thing is that if there is damage that has been done, like let's say we get a hailstorm today, you can dispute your taxes based on the hailstorm today. Where that
it's
would
got to be something that it's got to be like old deferred maintenance.
Yeah. It can't be something new damage that just happened. So, just FYI.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and take a really quick break.
Okay.
And hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
Welcome back to Real Estate Divas. Still seeing my light there. We are talking about how to reduce your property taxes. The deadline is coming very, very soon. Jer'Leigh Thompson has been all over this because she gets asked all the time, how do I do this? So we've already talked about the online part. What about when you have to go to a face-to-face?
So if they have, at the end of that online, because you want to start there, if at the end of that online you've uploaded your documents, you've disputed it, then they let you know you may be contacted with a counter or an appeal date. And so that appeal date is when you would go gather up all your information and go before that appeals panel. So when you show up on time, show up prepared, show up with a smile. Smile goes a long way. These people are bombarded with a ton of people every single day
who are angry,
who are upset. They are not happy, and so try to be that breath of fresh air. So it's that whole
exactly
additive of more bunnies or more bees with honey.
Absolutely.
Than vinegar. So.
That's good advice anytime you go anywhere, because yes, you're upset, you're frustrated, but this is not this person's problem.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
And they're in a position to help you, so be nice.
Yeah. So that's the way you want to show up, and most of all, be prepared. So the way that you want to be prepared is make sure that if you don't have access to comps, if you're not a Propelio client, maybe go ahead and sign up. Or you get a hold of a realtor and ask them to pull you comps. There's a lot of realtors that will charge for this service. It's something they can provide, and they're allowed to charge for the service. But go ahead and let them have somebody pull those comps. You're trying to get as relative as possible, as far as you want things that are much better than what your property is. You want as many pictures of those comps as possible, because then you're going to go around your house and you're going to take pictures.
So you want the comps to be, you want them to show that are nicer than your house, but still have maybe a lower, sold for less than what your taxes.
Well, no, they're going to be, your taxes, most likely the assessed value that they're putting on there, and when you pull the comps, you're going to see that they're probably pretty spot on. These tax assessed values are probably pretty spot on, whether you like it or not. I mean, there are definitely some out there that are way off just because they don't realize what they're dealing with.
I know we say that, and when they raise them significantly like this, yes, there's probably a lot of thought that went into that number. But it's shocking. You know, you go from year to year and you look at a tax value. I see them all still now where, you know, I know that there's no way that house is worth $40,000, and yet it's been taxed at
$40,000 for how many years?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And there's certain neighborhoods that will do that. You know, I mean, we know those neighborhoods. We buy in those neighborhoods, you know. But there's... whenever you pull the comps, there's not going to be any like super, for the most part, any super low comps that are going to be high-end, finish out, and then sold for lower. You're going to see that, wait, we're validating what they're trying to raise my taxes to. And yes, in a way, you are validating that, but that's only if your house is the most stellar on the block. You know, that's what you're trying to dispute, is my house is not that house. My house has a ton of problems. And so then once you show the pictures, have your realtor, or if you have access to comps, print pictures of these houses so you can see that finish out, and you can see, oh wow, that's a stunning kitchen. My kitchen looks like it's straight out of 1982, you know? So then you go into your 1982 kitchen and you take pictures of everything that's outdated, everything that's broken, everything that needs repair. If you have something that you know is in need of real repair, like foundation work, or like the fence just blew down, or your retaining wall is falling.
Get like a foundation.
Get these people out there, get those contractors out there, and have them give you estimates. If you have plumbing issues, have them give you estimates, so that now you're proving, I have all of these costs, I have all of these expenses to get my house up to par. And we're just talking about par, you know, because now if you're talking about those kind of things, we're not even talking finish out, the lipstick, nothing. We're just talking about to get your house up to par. Those are going to be significant in disputing your property tax. And then in addition, have a contractor maybe come out and give you an estimate. Go to Home Depot.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah, we've talked. They'll come out. They'll come out and do an estimate very easily.
Well, but didn't you, like, on one of your flips?
Yeah.
Like if you give the square footage, or you give how much countertop I have, and I want this grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of cabinets or counters or whatever to like update it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you could actually just get a quote right there at Home Depot or Lowe's, and you don't even have to have anybody out to your house, and take that with you. You just want as much documentation as possible.
As possible, to say, hey, this is what it's going to take to get it up to
these values. I realize things are selling for this, but that's not my house.
Right. And to get it to sell for this, I would have to do A, B, C, D, E, and F. Here are the pictures to prove it. This is how awful stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm living in a hovel.
So is it worth then, though? Let's say that your house is pristine.
If your house is pristine, that's, again, it's going to be harder. So then maybe there's more things that can't exactly be seen. You've had somebody come out and the toilets aren't flushing like they should. Things are not quite draining like they should. So
maybe there's no
physical proof, but you've had these estimates and they said, hey, you need to check this out.
Right.
Maybe you got the home built a couple of years ago and your ventilation isn't just right, and you've had somebody come out and talk about your ventilation, or the HVAC has come out and said, I'm not so sure about this duct work.
So the answer is get creative.
Get creative, and think outside of the box, and which takes me to my other topic of, okay, so you and I both know there's tons and y'all do too, and probably somebody out there lives in these areas, but like the high, what's the word I'm looking for? Places that people really, really want to move to.
Yeah, desirable.
So high demand.
High demand areas, sure.
Yeah. So high demand areas, the tax appraisal district has gotten creative. They are putting the tax appraisal, the value more on the land.
Yeah. So if
And
you've got
how
an
do you
old house, and you see that a lot. I mean,
Lake
because
Highlands,
Highland Park, University
Lakewood.
Park.
Yeah.
If you've got an old crummy house, basically the entire value is in that land.
Yeah. And so they've gotten creative, so you have to get creative. So then, as far as the land value goes, start looking outside of your house. If they're saying it doesn't matter what your house looks like, it's in the land.
Right.
Which stinks, but then you get creative. You're like, okay, I'm the first house coming into this neighborhood and there's a bike trail right behind me. I have a friend of mine that we're dealing with this right now. She is she's over in the White Rock Lake area, and she is the first house coming into the neighborhood. And there's a spillway not too far from her, and then that's where all the traffic comes in for that bike trail going to White Rock Lake. Well, where's your privacy? That everybody is coming across your property. Everybody, you are right there at the forefront. That's not the same value as somebody who's nestled into a little cul-de-sac in the middle of that neighborhood.
Also, and they're not. And just so everybody knows, when you're looking at these tax appraisals, get on the plat map and start clicking and looking at those land prices next to you on either side, and make sure you're going apples to apples, because some of them are wider than yours or deeper than yours. The sizes might not all be the same. But if you go in there and you go, okay, well, you've assessed my land at this, but the land over here, because there's maybe a bigger, better house on that one than yours, will be significantly less.
Yeah.
And give that as evidence, especially just start hunting around and finding everything on your block right there within
Absolutely.
neighborhood or quarter of a mile, because they are not all perfect.
No.
And they might pull yours and go, yeah, we're going to do this, but
Yeah. The disputing the land is the harder of the two. That's no lie. It's really tough in those areas right now. And even in the TCU area and stuff like that we're seeing it all over. But you really need to get creative. Is there a power line behind you?
yeah,
That
right there
definitely affects the sale.
It will absolutely. It will definitely bring. It would bring, even if somebody just bought the dirt, it would bring that price down.
That's what I'm saying.
Because nobody wants to build with.
Yeah, if there's a major power line
Right.
behind you, if there's if you butt up next to or are near a commercial area, you've got a shopping strip directly behind you. Can you hear the traffic or see the highway from your front porch?
Train.
Yeah.
How close is it to train tracks? If it's within a mile of train tracks, you're going to be able to hear it. So
Exactly. So these are all things that you need to consider. You need to, make a list, drive your neighborhood if you need to. Most of the time you're going to know most of this, but maybe you've gotten so used to it you don't think about it.
Right.
But that goes back to, these people haven't been in your neighborhood. They don't know where you live. You live there, you see it every day. So bringing this to light, it makes a difference. So those are the things that I would definitely consider bringing, take pictures of, and disputing whenever you're in person. But that's basically how you want to show up, and just know that they have access. If you're trying to get a little sneaky, and you're like, well, this house sold 6 months ago to a wholesaler, and so I'm going to use that comp. Well, you can't. They don't go back the 6 months. They want to go back 3 months, and they're going to go, oh, that's an old comp. or
So 6 months is too old for them.
they like to stay in that 3 month
3
perimeter.
months. Okay, well, that's a very important one.
I mean,
'Cause
they can.
I would try to push it. I mean,
If it's 6 months, and if we're in a slower period,
and if there's not enough comps.
and there's not
If there's not enough comps, then
but
you
if
can go
there's
back.
plenty right there in your neighborhood, and
3
if there's
months.
if there's plenty in your neighborhood, your subdivision, and you try to go outside of your subdivision because across this major street it's a little less, they're not gonna
accept that either.
No, that's not your neighborhood. So I mean, yes, get creative, but just know if you're trying to be kind of
because these guys are all licensed appraisers.
I mean,
and they've been appraising for 20, 30 years.
they
in
know
most
their
cases.
stuff. They just don't know your house.
Right. And they're not going to come see me inside, so you need to show off that with all of those pictures.
Absolutely. So the more pictures, the better. And, and like I said, just continually dispute, because the more you dispute it, the more you're going to be able to keep it down and it doesn't catch up to you all of a sudden. You can never recapture that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you for watching. Like, comment, share this at all times. Thanks, Propelio, for letting us come on and talk about this, because I'm sure we'll continue to get tons of phone calls.
Yeah, between now and May 15th, I'm quite confident I'll continue to hear.
So I've never hired somebody to dispute my property taxes for me. Mm-hmm. Do you know about how much those guys cost?
I know just because a couple of my clients have used different companies, and I do know a lot of them charge a percentage of what they save, and some of them are
good.
just a flat fee.
Good.
So it just depends. I know, what was it? One of them that we called yesterday was flat fees starting at $350 to $400 to dispute your property tax. Most of the other ones were somewhere around, what did I write down? Well, 40% of whatever their overall deduction is.
Right. So whatever they recover.
Yeah,
they
whatever
take 40%.
yeah, exactly. And I've had several clients that, especially when they're dealing with several properties, just hire somebody because they didn't want to deal with it, and they felt like it was totally worth the money.
Well, because they still got money back.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally like the percentage.
Yep.
Percentage one, because you're going to be getting money back or saving money, and they get part of that.
They get part of that. Well, and usually we do not see property taxes go up every year.
Correct.
It's usually every couple of years.
Usually what, 3?
Yeah,
usually
2 to 3 years.
So you're going to have the savings.
Yeah.
From that one time, you'll have
over
the savings,
a period of time.
Yeah, 2-3 years.
So it can be very worth it. And do your due diligence, ask around, ask for some recommendations, and definitely use somebody in your county. Or at least if you're like kind of way out and several of those counties are near each other, then you want to go ahead and.
Absolutely.
And you can find somebody that works several counties. But whenever you're dealing with like Dallas County, use somebody in Dallas County.
Absolutely.
Not Colin, not whatever.
Yeah.
Well, like you said,
Dave Averett.
Yeah.
Because I'm like he's been friends with everybody on the appraisal board for years, decades. Mm-hmm. Decades. So that's who. If anybody called me up for Dallas County, I'm like, call him.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Well, if y'all have any questions, like I said, there's
There we go.
Oh, hey.
So Laura Johnson Kimbrell. What if there's an error in the land size on tax rolls that is sizable in their favor? We have a survey showing the correct acreage, but the county doesn't want to change. Should I get an attorney?
Well, I would probably say go ahead. A lot of these guys that dispute property taxes are attorneys. So call one of these property tax guys, because that sounds like that's
legitimate. That's also a separate. So if you've got anything that's ever incorrect on your survey or any of that, that's a separate dispute. You have to go in. So like I've had it in the past where I bought a house and they didn't have the correct number of bedrooms and bathrooms on it on the tax rolls. Mm-hmm. And so like it said 4 and there were only 3 bedrooms on it. So you're getting a higher appraisal and tax penalty on that. So I went in and had it switch to 3 bedrooms, and or vice versa. So I also did it in the reverse where I added a bedroom and I actually went to the appraiser's office and asked them to put it at 4 bedrooms because I was renting at Section 8. But again, that's not the same people that are disputing property taxes.
Exactly.
Your first step is going to be taking that survey and going down to the county and getting that straightened out so that all of the data is correct. And then you take that and go, hey, you've got the wrong size here. Why does it say this? I just got this, it's correct now. Can you lower my property taxes? So
it's but definitely get a hold of that tax appraisal district, find out what department do you go to do that, and then I would go ahead and reach out,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
to one of these guys.
Alma Flores, what about multifamily properties? Same deal.
It's so when talking to some of these appraisal guys and also some of the guys who dispute this as a profession, they basically said that dealing with dealing with your residential personal property and dealing with investment properties, exactly the same deal. With multifamily, then you're dealing more in depreciations. I mean, there's all kinds of other facets that go into that.
Also, location, is it a Class A, Class B, Class C property? I used to joke around because the first thing I ever bought was an 8-unit apartment building, and I called it like a Class F because that's really what it was. I don't know that my property taxes ever got raised on that horrid little thing, but you couldn't see how nice I'd updated the units.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, stop by.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at the neighborhood. Look at the block.
Yeah.
So yeah, same deal.
But that one, since we're mainly talking about residential, I mean that.
But
one
again,
I would
multifamily
probably,
is the same deal.
Yeah.
Same deal. And I'm not sure because I think it's if you go in, you'll appeal it in person for if you've got a small apartment building or apartment complex, but they're going to give you an appointment with a different group. So because you do have residential appraisers and you do have commercial. Multifamily appraisers, and it's 2 different things. Sohail Badrudin, how's it going? I totally love this guy. He's awesome. They will accept the dispute if the value stays higher than last year, or could the value we present to them be lower than last year? Most likely not, especially in an up market. Now, if we go, which I'm now a big believer that we're not going to really see a correction here in Dallas, but let's say that, 10 years ago, I lost about 50% in value across my portfolio. I went in and I disputed every single one of those properties for 2009. So I went in 2009 going, all right, this is what this stuff is worth now. You can't tax me at what you were.
Well, yeah, I mean, back then, I remember all of that as well, and everybody was squawking because they had lost so much value in their properties. And so in those when we're in...
We're in an up market.
An up market, it's not going to happen.
Steady. I mean, we're still selling.
If there are comps that prove that the houses are selling for more, then you're not going to get it at a lower value than the previous year.
Right.
The best that you can hope for is that you maintain the value of the previous, year. You're not going to get it lower unless we're in a slump. If we're in a slump like we were 10 or so years ago, or back in the 80s, they had a big slump and it was awful. So then you can get your property taxes lower than the previous year.
But I mean, for me last night, I just went in and I just tried to game it. I was like, okay, so they're not going to come down to where it was.
Yeah.
But, I went down.
Yeah. I've looked at the statistics, and seriously, it's amazing.
Well, you had told me you can really hope for about 25%.
Yeah, I mean, you would try. Yeah, I mean, you can try. It's just one of those things of just as long as you're okay with showing up and in person, then you can be aggressive about it. Otherwise, try to be conservative, but maybe get halfway in between last year and this year, or something like that, and see if they'll take that. It doesn't hurt to try, and the success rate of getting them to lower it some is pretty high. It's up there in the 80%, 90%.
I mean, going in person, it's actually really easy. It's fast. It does not take long.
It's about a 15-minute session. basically.
It is, and I mean they're churning and burning, and they're seeing so many of those, especially going on now. It was hard to get an appointment, a decade ago when I was doing it on mass scales.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I was never turned down.
Yep. So it's definitely worth the effort, is what we're saying. So get out there and try it, dispute it, all of that business. It's worth the effort.
And even if you're watching this on the replay, make sure and keep asking questions. We go back and visit.
Oh, yeah.
We answer the questions after the show, and then we go back and revisit those same questions. So if we see something else.
We were answering questions from last week on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So,
and I even started getting stuff on, Wednesday.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're on there all week long, and, we'll still come back. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, comment, share. And if you know somebody else who, you're like, oh, my gosh, this person was complaining about their property taxes or so-and-so, make sure and, add their name. Tag them in one
Or
of the comments.
send them the YouTube link. That's an easy way to do it. I had the friends that were contacting me this week, who obviously I'm going to help, but I was like, hey, go ahead and tune in on Friday because this is what we're talking about. You can do it. So, and if you have any questions for me, then obviously you can DM me, or you can also, put it in the comments. Do we need to take a quick break?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
Welcome back to Real Estate Divas. Today we are talking about how to reduce your property taxes. I'm here with Jer'Leigh Thompson, and we've gone through just a ton of
information,
golden nuggets on how to. The tips. So, you want to rehash any of your favorites?
Just basically, it doesn't hurt to try. So I know a lot of people are out there and they're afraid? Of doing it. What if they say no? The worst case scenario, they'll say no.
And they're not going to go. They're not going to go above.
Yeah.
They're not going to all of a sudden go, oh wow, thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah.
I'm going to add $20,000 to it.
And just to go ahead and let everybody know again, I said it at the beginning of this segment, I'm going to say it again, it does not affect your market value of your home to dispute your property taxes. To have that lower tax assessed value is not a bad thing. It has nothing to do with what you can sell your property for. That seems to be one of those big ones out there.
Matt Smith, how's it going?
Hey,
Matt. Always happy to see you. If the market crashes, can you get it reduced way down to what the market's at? Yes.
We were just talking about.
I did it with all of my properties a decade ago, and it was easy. And and people are shocked when I say it, but I literally lost seemingly overnight 50% in value because everything I had was South Dallas, south of 30. And it just got hit hard. Ace Hamgo, a client that father passed house in foreclosure and $150K in taxes. Can that be disputed in any kind of way? Found out foundation work needed also.
So 150. Okay, passed house in foreclosure. So it seems like there's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to dispute the property taxes, yes, the foundation is going to be helpful. It being in foreclosure is not going
to really
help you with that dispute.
Although, could you say that you can't sell it for what you owe on it?
You might be able to do that, but then the comps are going to have to prove that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that, okay, if there's $150,000 that's owed, I'm assuming, to the mortgage, and it's going into foreclosure, then the foreclosure is really, you need to be concerned about how to stop that.
First stop your foreclosure.
Yeah, first stop the foreclosure,
Right.
which short sale, get a hold of me, get a hold of Melody, get a hold of somebody, to stop that foreclosure. But as far as getting those taxes down, then I would say definitely the foundation is something you want to bring to attention. And then if it's got foundation issues, then most likely it's got cosmetic issues as well, maybe even some plumbing issues. All of those things you can use as far as.
Absolutely. I mean, the foundation issues alone, you should be able to go in there and get those.
Yep.
Get those reduced. But again, save your house first.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on
Worry about
the
later.
chopping block, yeah, dispute it by all means. But if you're on the chopping block, then
Yeah. No, absolutely. So this has been a great.
yeah, I'm really excited that we were able to get that information out there. I mean, like I said, going through some of these websites and going the amount of information,
the scare tactics.
yeah.
But I have to say, when I first started out, that was my number one fear, was that they would raise it above what they were going to come in at.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do that. The worst thing you're going to hear is, no, we think that this is a legitimate number. And deep down, you probably know that they're right anyways.
Yeah,
So are
if
you
it's
that upset?
That if, like you said, if it's a spectacular home, I'm sorry.
I know. It's hard. It's not a lot to do. I mean.
But for those I also think that for those of you who are in those areas that are really, hot areas, high demand areas, and your land value's gone up, you got to know that the tax appraisal district got creative. You've got to get creative. So do you feed into the right school? Is there a creek eroding your land? Is there, think about all of these things.
All of these things that you would think about when you were going in to make an offer.
Absolutely.
On a house or a wholesale deal. I mean, if you're going in, you're looking for everything that's wrong with that house so that you can negotiate that offer.
Absolutely. So, it's just reminding yourself of your surroundings and trying to prove that piece of land is not worth it. So.
Absolutely.
But again, y'all have any questions, you want to hit us up, we'll be happy to answer in the upcoming week. And
yeah, and I honestly, I think the best advice when you just go in and talk to these people, one, come in with as much documentation as you can. Preparation. Print off your comps. Make sure you print off pictures of everything. And then just be nice. Just be nice. I mean, that's really, they just want somebody who's, friendly, bubbly person to come on in. And
I wonder if cookies or cupcakes would work.
By the way, cookies and cupcakes do work. This is the same. Like the appraisal board was the same thing with the code enforcement board, because they were real big. Like especially if you have a small multifamily dwelling and stuff, because you've got to get a certificate of occupancy. Oh my gosh! First thing I used to do, I'm like, whenever I got like something like that required certificate of occupancy, I brought cookies. I'm like, oh, you're my new code guy. Yay! I'm Kristin. It's so nice to meet you. I brought you snacks for no reason whatsoever.
No ulterior motive.
I don't need anything right now. But when you do need something 6 months down the road, or he comes over to meet you at your property, he'll remember the nice person who brought him cookies and not be so hard on possible violations that you might have there.
Nice.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Got to work. Creativity
and be nice.
Creativity.
So thank you, Propelio, for having us on here. And honestly, I love the Propelio comps.
Well, Propelio,
if you're doing it for nothing else other than that.
Absolutely. So Propelio comps, basically, I'm the broker for Propelio, so they are powered through my brokerage. They are MLS comps. If you want to check it out, there's a 7-day free trial. Get on there, check it out. There's tons of other tools, and they are about to have nationwide access. So definitely check out Propelio for all your investor needs, or if you're just you're starting to think about it.
So the other thing that's really great on there is if you're new to this, you probably do need a website, and all of these extra costs add up. With your subscription, you get a website.
Yeah.
And I kind of played with it. I have websites, but I don't need that. But I'm like,
but
what
it's
is
there.
this? And I'm like,
another tool that's there
fun.
for a low monthly fee. So check it out. And
Driving for Dollars app.
is about to launch.
Yep. And what's that going to do? I've heard different things.
Well, I'm not the IT person, but I do know it's going to be basically it'll map your route so you don't go over keep going over the same areas or keep hitting the same streets.
And I heard you're going to be able to take a picture.
Yep.
And it'll tell you right where you're at.
Yeah, it does the geo. What's that word?
The geolocation.
Yeah. There you go.
Geolocation.
But yeah, I mean, it should have like a lot of the people who are familiar with the Driving for Dollars apps. It's going to have a lot of the features and more than theirs.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm super excited about it.
I don't do a lot with that, but I'm like, it's still cool.
Yeah.
Might go look for it. So keep the comments coming. Again, Jer'Leigh and I go back and we look at this all week long, and we constantly are asking. Jer'Leigh is like just a wealth of knowledge on this. So, well, I've done it like a zillion times, but it's been a while. I'm like, I kind of forgot. I'm like, I gotta get my property taxes lowered.
Yeah. Well, now you've got to worry about it.
Yeah, and I just started picking up property like again, for the Airbnbs like this past July, August. So I've still got, I got another year until I'll start.
Until it hits.
Yeah, until I'll start protesting all of those. But,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm Jer'Leigh Thompson with Texel Real Estate Brokerage, and Propelio is powered by the Texel Real Estate Brokerage. And if you want to hit me up, feel free to reach me on Facebook. I have about 3 different pages: my personal page, my Texel Real Estate page, and then Jer'Leigh Thompson Real Estate Broker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm Kristin Gerst. I am with Capricorn Mortgage Investments. I buy owner finance mortgage notes. I'm desperately looking for notes right now, so if you've got some, send them to me. I'll give you a great deal on them. And one other note, I am foreclosing on a lender for 2 properties. He's sitting at about 45% loan to value. I called the notes due because he is an investor. If you would like his information, he goes to auction first Tuesday of May. So if you want his attorney's name, contact information to maybe go and make him offers on those properties, let me know.
Where are they?
They're down in Pleasant Grove.
Okay.
Down in Pleasant Grove.
Good to know.
I'm just looking to be made whole. So go make the dude a deal and beat out the auction. Nice. Otherwise, I'm going to be publicizing that auction all over the place. I'm like, I don't want him back. I'm like, I don't want him back. Just sell at auction.
Yeah. Nice.
Great.
Awesome. Y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Skip Tracing, Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.